All right, so one thing I noticed throughout this year's Summer League, which was generally underwhelming, was that people still tend to overreact to rookie performances on that stage. So, for example, Alex Sarr did not have a good Summer League showing at all. He was quite disappointing, but a lot of people are taking that and running around and saying that he is a bust, right? And that they should have picked somebody else at number 2. And as a Wizards fan, I get it. It was very disappointing seeing Alex Sarr come out and play like that. But the overreactions have to stop. It's been too much of a theme over the last couple of years where people run with these really early rookie showings and get to saying they're a bust if they're not impressive early on. And that's just ridiculous because in doing that, you are downplaying the importance and the significance of development, right? Sometimes for some guys, it's not going to take just 1 year. It may take multiple years. That doesn't mean they're going to be a bust. That doesn't mean their career is going to end up being a failure. There are plenty of guys who didn't really show us glimpses of being a future all-star, superstar level point guard until later in their career, future superstar level player until later in their career. So best example here is Stephen Curry. He was a lottery pick, highly touted player out of Davidson, did not have an amazing first couple of years in the NBA. Good, showed some flashes of being a solid point guard, but all-star, not so much. And then he got under the right system with Steve Kerr and ends up being arguably the greatest point guard of all time. That is an extreme example, and not everybody's going to be Steph Curry, but he's a really good example of someone who was okay, mediocre, didn't quite live up to expectations early on in his career, and then over the years, he developed into this elite level player. So in looking at that, you know it's going to take more than 1 year or 2 years maybe for a guy to convince us that he can end up being a future all-star level player. And there are a number of guys right now in the NBA who are just like that. They're younger, under the age of 25, and have shown some good glimpses early on, but haven't convinced us just yet. But I'm very excited to see what they do this upcoming season and what leaps they take in their game. And the first guy I'm going to start off with here is Scoot Henderson, who was the number 2 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. So Scoot had a pretty interesting first season. He put up 14 points, and the shooting splits weren't great. He made just 38% of his shots, but there were some things that looked great when it came strictly down to the eye test. Showed off some great playmaking chops. He even tied the Blazers' single-game rookie record for assists with 15 and showed some glimpses of being a future elite level shot creator. He showed off this really good ability to get to some mid-range spots, especially like in the middle of the floor. And he grew throughout the year when it came to just finding his spots on a consistent basis on the offensive end. His first year did come with lessons, like I talked about with the efficiency and just adjusting to the speed of the game. But you'd expect that for a young offensive-minded point guard. When trying to develop a young scoring point guard like that, you're going to expect hiccups like inefficiency and mistakes on the offensive end. That kind of comes with the package. And we also have to account for the fact that he played in a very crowded offense with guys like DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe. They had a lot of guys to get the ball to and had a lot of guys to prioritize shot attempts for. So I do think Portland needs to move a few pieces to free up some opportunities and offensive looks for Henderson. And if they do manage to do that this offseason or sometime before the deadline, that opens up a ton for Scoot to excel even more in year 2. But I'm super excited about the flashes he showed us in year 1. And I think he can definitely take it a step further this coming season for a rebuilding Portland team. Second guy I'm going to mention here is Keyonte George, another second-year young scoring-minded point guard from Utah. He had shown off some pretty good scoring chops on his own for Utah last season. He scored in double figures in his first season. Like Scoot, the splits weren't great, but he definitely looked comfortable and passed the eye test a lot of times. Now, weakness of his was that he was a high turnover guy in his first year, but just like Scoot, you expect that from a young scoring-minded point guard. Turnover issues get alleviated with time. So I think for him, the 3 biggest areas of improvement are going to be, for one, shot selection. He did take a high percentage of his looks from three-point range, and a lot of those were contested, and did take a relatively low amount of two-point looks. Also on the offensive end, he had issues with ball control and playmaking. I just talked about it, the turnover issues. For a young point guard like him, duality is everything as a future cornerstone guy for a rebuilding franchise, right? Accompanying his scoring with an ability to orchestrate the offense is going to be absolutely huge. And as time went on, Coach Will Hardy did trust him in the offense more and more, and he did have a lot of really good minutes, clocking in about 27 per game. So for him, just like Scoot, he's going to get better with time and experience, and I think he's going to take a huge leap in multiple areas in his second season here for Utah. And I think this is the year where he shows us that he can be a reliable, possible cornerstone caliber player for this franchise. All he has to do is show flashes of that as Utah is dead in the middle of a rebuild. So I'm going to move away from second-year guys and then go to a guy that's been in the league for a while, and that is Evan Mobley. So I've been pretty interested in Evan Mobley for a while. He's been pretty solid through the course of his career, putting up some solid double-digit numbers and even making an all-defensive team. But in order for the Cavaliers to be a legitimate title contender in the East, which I think they have somewhat of a level of talent to do, they're going to need him to make an all-star, all-NBA caliber leap. With Evan, he's been good, he's been solid, but he hasn't taken that leap just yet. He's never put up over 16 points in his career. And with his skill set, he should be able to score well within the 20s on a night in and night out basis. He will need to sharpen up on his offensive game. He shows small flashes of being a threat from outside. He only made 27 threes last season, but showed some glimpses of being a pretty good pick and pop threat from three-point range. Has a good looking jump shot off the catch. Right now, he wasn't featured a ton in that Cavaliers offense, right? They kind of had him sitting in the dunker spot a lot of finishes out of the pick and roll and things like that, just being at the right place at the right time. But with this new offense that's run now by Coach James Borrego, they may feature him as a shot creator a lot more. And towards the end of the season, when he got more shots playing for the Cavaliers when they lost Donovan Mitchell in that series against Boston, he showed some flashes of being a really good primary offensive option. So as I said, this is the year where the Cavs need to make that big leap and try to get over the hump. And a lot of that is going to come down to Evan Mobley making that monumental leap at this point in his career, possibly an all-star level leap because he has that type of talent. And it's also very possible that he ends up in some defensive player of the year conversations because he is one of the most intriguing defensive players in the entire league. Then finally, I'm ready to see Cade Cunningham take a monumental leap in his game this coming season. He is still a future superstar level player that a lot of people have forgotten about because Detroit has been that bad. He is a 6'6" point guard with great shot creating ability and knows how to get to his spots well and has a decent looking shot from distance. The efficiency wasn't great, but he still looks very comfortable from outside. Last season, he was putting up 22.7 points and 7.5 assists and did it with a total lack of spacing. So having good spacing around your point guard is huge. He put up borderline elite level assist numbers while the Pistons were a low-level offense and did not have any spacing. They added a number of really good floor spacers this offseason with Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, and also Tobias Harris. This will open up a lot of Detroit's offense and showcase Cade's playmaking even more. And this may tack on more wins for the Pistons, which will shine even more of a spotlight back on Cade. As I said, he's been forgotten a lot over the last couple of years because the Pistons have been that bad. Remember, when Cade came into the NBA, he was one of the most highly touted draft prospects we've seen in a while. And he's still an amazing talent and a franchise type point guard, just forgotten about because of those team issues. But the spacing and new coaching with JB Bickerstaff could do wonders for him. And also, he should make some improvements on the defensive end, which will take his game to the next level. JB Bickerstaff did say he wants to help him develop this part of his game. If he becomes a reliable defender at that size of 6'6", it's scary. So as I said, there are certain young guys who are going to be dominant in their rookie seasons or early on in their career, like from the jump, maybe like a Paolo Banchero and guys like that. And for others, it is going to take some time. So these are guys who are maybe mediocre in their rookie seasons or early on in their careers, but I definitely think they have what it takes this coming season to make those monumental leaps at this point in their careers and show us that they have all-star, possible superstar level potential sometime down the road.